As 2021 got underway, it felt like it could be an interesting year for silver, given the pickup potentially in economic demand. But as it's turned out, we've seen a year of volatility, but broadly speaking, sideways trading. So what can we expect for the price of silver to the end of 2021? I know I often say it when we look at silver, but it really is not my favorite market at the moment and over recent months because of this sideways range trading we've seen. You know, if we take the price back and look at where we're trading now, just below $24 an ounce, that's where we were pretty much this time last year, or late September of last year. We've seen lots of volatility this year, but no real direction for the price of silver. So I thought, well, let's do a step back from the more shorter term outlook and take a view on silver over the next 3-4 months or so to the end of the year. So as usual in this video, I'll talk about why we've seen silver perform the way it has so far this year, what could be the catalyst to drive the price of silver higher as the year goes on, and then we'll come back and look at the charts in a bit more detail. We do actually have a trade running in silver at the moment. And here it is from the 17th of August, buying in at 23.87, thereabouts. The market is 23.78, which just about sums up, I think, silver at the moment. We've seen volatility, but no real change over the past month or so. So the trade on that one is slightly down. But let me talk a bit about some of the news about silver, what to watch out for in the months ahead. Then we'll come back onto the platform and take a look at things in a bit more detail and see where we might be going over the next few months. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do perhaps a more medium-term outlook for silver towards the end of this year. I think it's been a disappointing year for silver, but more about that in a second. So as usual in this video, we'll talk a bit about the recent news, the expectations at the beginning of the year, how it all turned out, why it turned out like it did. We'll look at the big levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the trading platform and take a look at things in a bit more detail. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel, and it means we can continue to push out lots of different content throughout the week on the various markets that we cover. And of course, every Friday at 2:30 UK time, and I do a live stream direct from the YouTube channel where we look at silver, gold, and a whole host of different markets in real time. If you're subscribed with the alarm bell notification pushed, you get a notification off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Right, let's get into it and take a more medium-term look at silver. So I think we all know, if we're watching silver, it's been a volatile year so far. We saw it trade as high as $30 in February of this year, very briefly. And then in the summer, we saw the price crash below $22. So lots of volatility, but no real direction. You had that flash crash in early August. It was in the early hours of the morning. We saw, again, a big sell-off for gold, but we saw it being perhaps more exaggerated from silver, where it went from $24 to $22 in under an hour. It has clawed back some of those losses, but it's still been fairly lackluster trading over recent weeks. So coming into this year, I think hopes for silver among some were high. We were seeing economies getting back to somewhere near normal, and an increase in economic activity was one hope that perhaps we'd see the price of silver do well, because half of silver's demand comes from industrial uses. So the hope was that a pickup here would filter through to demand for silver, and we'd see that reflected in the price. But I think it's fair to say we haven't seen that. It's been a boring year for silver. And I wonder, I think there are a couple of things at play here. The likes of silver and gold can be seen as perhaps defensive assets in times of trouble, but we haven't had any. If we look at the stock market, we've seen the stock market again this month pushed out to fresh all-time highs. It's felt like every week sometimes we're seeing stock markets hit fresh all-time highs. So I think investors looking for higher returns have embraced the risk of the stock market again over the last 12 to 15 months. And perhaps those looking at alternative assets, we know how active cryptocurrencies have been this year, the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum, to name but two. So I do wonder if poor old silver has been somewhat neglected by both camps, those looking at alternatives and those looking to embrace risk. Silver's fallen somewhere in the middle, and it's been a directionless year. But I think there's still one thing to watch over the forthcoming months. We've talked about it a bit when we've looked at silver and gold in recent months, and it's inflation. Inflation started being something of a concern about 6 to 8 months ago for investors, but central banks have pretty much universally said, look, high inflation is only going to be a temporary thing. It's going to return back to normal. Just today, at the time of recording, we've had inflation data out for the UK. It's at its highest level for almost a decade. But again, central banks are saying we'll see inflation drop back to more normal levels. If we do see higher inflation persist, I think that's something that could help benefit the likes of silver, traditionally seen as a hedge against inflation. So perhaps we could see some more speculative buying and something of a rally into year end. But it doesn't take away from the fact, just to say it again, I think it's been a boring market. It's been a disappointing year. It's down almost 10% year to date. So perhaps we could see something of a pickup on inflation concerns. But where next in the medium term? Let's talk about the big levels to watch, then we'll jump back onto the charts. So I think the immediate hurdle on the upside, sort of either side of $25, $24.85, the 3rd of September high, $25.20, the 6th of August high. So again, I think there's definitely a feeling when it starts pushing up towards 25 that perhaps it's getting overextended. On the downside, lots of support levels left after this flash crash we had below $22 in the beginning of August. And I think, the most immediate level down around $23.30. So we do have a lot of support down here. And I suppose you could make the argument from a medium term point of view, we're at the bottom of the 12-month plus range. So, buying at extremes of ranges, even when markets are sideways, could be a sensible thing to do. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's take a look at the charts. I thought we'd start things off for a change with a look at the really big picture. So I've got here, the last 10 years plus of silver, and this sort of $30 level that we saw in August last year and again in Feb of this year briefly has proved to be a real ceiling for the price of silver over the medium term, over the last 12-15 months or so. I think if we could at some point, I don't think we'll see it this year, but perhaps when we're doing our outlook for 2022, if we see $30 broken, I think, clearly it does open up much bigger levels, much bigger targets for silver, initially looking at 35 from September 2012. But you can see, just putting it into perspective there, how sideways I think the last 12 months or so have been for silver. But let's jump in on this range and take a look at things in a bit more detail. So this is where we are. This is what we have in front of us for silver. Here is that flash crash that we had in August when the price spiked down briefly below $22 an ounce. We have seen it recover and bounce back since then. I think we're still in that recovery, broadly speaking. But it does, I think, demonstrate that the directionless market we've had for silver this year. When it trades much above, 28.50 to 30, the sellers have come back out. It's a real problem for silver. And from a trading point of view, if I was trading it and it started running up towards $28, I would be thinking about locking in perhaps potentially some of that profit. But on the downside, as we've seen since August, September of last year, below 22.50 has proved to be something of a bargain price for silver. So we have this definite range, even though it's down about 10% year to date, a definite range for the price of silver. If we look at the more recent recovery, and this is what we've been looking at in recent weeks, really since those August lows, that recovery is still chugging along. So I think short to medium term, even if inflation doesn't help the price of silver, I think we do still have this shorter to medium term recovery. Let's take a look on the hourlies. Here we go. So it's looking something like this. So broadly speaking, we do have an uptrend for silver. We've got over the last month or so. We've got higher highs, higher lows, just about higher major lows. Anyway, in the short to medium term, $23.30 has been good support for the price of silver. So for me, again, short to medium term, be looking for a run back up towards $24.80, 25 that we know has been something of a problem area for silver. But I think unless we have some sort of catalyst for the price, perhaps more unexpected inflation, it's perhaps difficult to see it make too much progress through these old highs, 26.75 from July, and then these highs here in early August, around $26. So I think 26 to 27 is going to be a bigger problem area for silver if we do see something of a recovery from here. But overall, in the short to medium term, still positive. I think we need that catalyst though, some surprising news to try and inject a bit more momentum into the price. On the downside, if it falls out of this range as the year comes to an end, then I think we could see deeper sell-offs. You know, we are seeing definite buyers stepping in below 22.50. I think the absolute low for this range going back to September last year is around $21.50. So for me, it's only if we fall out through there do we have to start worrying about silver sub $20 again. So mildly positive in the last few months of the year. I do feel we need a catalyst to drive things a bit higher, but for now, looking to see if that recovery can continue. That's it for the update in silver. Still a boring market for me, but perhaps these inflation concerns will fan a bit more volatility in the months ahead. We'll see. We'll come back to it and do updates, of course, throughout the month. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.